Section number 11 is entitled Squaring Binomials. Squaring binomials. You should know what a plus b all squared is. We're going to work it out one time. In my opinion, you should never do this again. Never. A times a squared. A times positive b is positive ab. Positive b times a is the same as positive a times b. And positive b times positive b, b squared. So you get a squared. You add the same thing to itself twice. You get two of them, 2ab plus b squared. A plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. A plus b squared is not a squared plus b squared. It's not. You have this middle term. How can you just read off the answer? I like to call this the first and this the second. Yes, you get the first square. You even get the second square. But you get the product. A times b. A times b. 2 times plus 2ab. You get the first squared. You get the product. There's the first squared. You get the first squared. You get the product of the first and second ab times 2 plus you get the second squared. There it is. This is pretty good to know because, as everyone knows, it takes time to use a calculator. It takes time just to go and get the calculator and turn it on. And sometimes it's silly to go and get a calculator. You have to use the batteries from the calculator which wear out. The calculator only has a fixed time that it's going to live for. As long as you know that 20 squared, 2 times 2 is 4, and you have 2 zeros. One from the first 20 that you're multiplying and one from the second. Remember, that means 20 times 20, 2 zeros. 23 squared. Well, 23 is 20 plus 3. You want to square it. Well, the first squared is 400. And you multiply those two numbers, you get 60. But you have to double it. That's a times b. A is 20 and b is 3. That's 60. You have to double it. It's 120. 400 plus 120. You should be able to do that in your head. Plus 3 squared is 9. The answer is 529. No calculator. If you want to know what 30, make it 31. If you want to know what 31 squared is, think of it as 30 plus 1 squared. 30 squared is 900. The product is 30. You double it, you get 60. You should know what 900 plus 60 is. Just don't say the plus. 900 plus 60 is 960. Plus 1. 1 squared is 1. 961. 961. No calculator. So it's pretty good to know that. It even works with non-numbers, like variables. If you have 3x plus 2y squared, well, I would ask myself, what do I get when I square that? 3 squared, x squared. What do you get when you multiply both of these? Y, well, 3 times 2 is 6. You have to times that by 2 is 12, times x times y. So multiply it by 2. 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 is 12, times x times y is 12xy. Plus, you have to square the 2y, which will give you 2 squared, y squared. Now, I want to convince you that I'm not asking anything that you wouldn't have to ask if you filed it out. The first thing I asked myself was, what's 3x squared? Well, if you FOIL, the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, what's 3x times 3x? And then the next thing I ask myself is, what do you get when you multiply 3x times 2y, and then double that? Well, there it is, 3x times 2y. And why are you doubling it? Because you're going to get it again. 2y times 3x. And then the last thing is, you're going to ask yourself what 2y times 2y was. But that's exactly what I asked. What's 2y squared? The only thing is that we're not, you don't, in the end, if you FOIL it out, you have 3x times 3x, which is 6x squared. You have 3x times 2y, which is 6xy. And then you have 2y times 3x, which is again 6xy. And then you have 2y times 2y, which is 4y squared. I was done in one line. Now you're going to have to double that. You're going to have to add them. You add it 2 times, that's why I said double. It's the same question, but it's a little bit quicker. Somebody asked me what 5x plus 3y is squared. Well, you square this. 5 squared, x squared. Then you multiply these. 5 times 3 is 15. You have to double it. 30. 15 times 2 is 30. Times x times y. Plus 30xy. Plus, you have to square the 3y. That's what you get when you square 3. That's what you get when you square y. Problem's done. You had 2x plus 7y squared. Well, 2x and 7y squared. When you square the first, when you square 2x, that's 2 squared, that's x squared. Plus, 2 times 7 is 14, times 2 is 28, times x times y squared, times x times y squared. Plus, now I have to square 7y squared. That's 7 squared, and y squared squared. You multiply the powers, you get y to the 4. Even if you FOILed it out, let me try to sneak it in right here. Even if you tried to FOIL it out, you're going to say, oh my, but I don't know what 7y squared all squared is. Well, then you're in trouble. Because even if you try to FOIL it out, at some point, you're going to have to know what 7y squared times 7y squared is. At some point, you're going to have to know it anyway. I'm not asking anything that you wouldn't ask if you FOILed out. I may say squared, and when you FOIL out, you may say times by itself. So, instead of saying it's the first squared plus the second squared, let me write it down. Instead of thinking of this as the first squared plus 2 times the first times the second plus the second squared. Instead of calling this the first squared, call it the first times the first. Because that's exactly what you're really doing when you're FOILing out, first, multiply the first by the first. And at some point, the second by the second. Okay. Now, a plus b squared is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. The next one, work it out yourself, FOIL it out, and you'll see if you get a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. If the sign in the middle is plus, you put a plus in the middle. If the sign in the middle is a minus, you put a minus in the middle. So, if somebody asks you, what is 18 squared, you can think 20 minus 2 squared. Well, 20 squared is 400. The product is 40 times 2 is 80. But this time you take it away. You should know that that's 320. You can do that in your head. Plus the 2 squared. Plus 4, 324. If you think I walk around knowing what 18 squared is, you're greatly mistaken. But I can get it in a matter of seconds. I would just do those two calculations in my head. Well, I guess 3 calculations. 20 squared, 20 times 2 times 2, 20 times 2 times 2. I guess the third one is to do the subtraction. This is 5 calculations. And then you have to square the 2 and then add it to the 320. So it's 5 calculations, but you can do it. You definitely don't want to FOIL it out every time. Of course, with this last problem, you could just do multiplication with pencil and paper. But what if it isn't numbers? Remember, a minus b squared is the first squared minus 2 times the first times the second plus the second squared. What if you had 7x minus 5y? Make it 6y. Too many 5's this afternoon. And we want to square this mess. First, the second. The first squared, 7 squared times x squared, minus, because it's minus. 7 times 5 is 35 times 2 is 70 times x times y. That is, you multiply the 7x by the 5y and then multiply that answer by 2. Or any order you want. 7x times 5y, that's like the a in the formula above, that's like the b, and here's the 2. 2ab. The order you multiply is up to you. Personally, I don't see this as 3 things being multiplied. I see it as 7 things being multiplied. The 2, the 7, the x, the 5, and the y. Okay, 5 things, excuse me. 2 times 5 is 10. I know what 10 times 7 is a lot faster than I know. Well, that 2 times 7 is 14. 14 times 5 is hard. Most people never memorize the 14's table. The 10 table is easy. 2 times 5 is 10, times 7 is 70, times x times y. 70xy. Plus the second squared. 5 squared, y squared. And problem's over. You can just read off the answer. How much is 8x minus, oh, I didn't want to use 5, but oh well. Minus 6y all squared. First, second. The minus in the middle. The first squared. 8 squared times x squared. Minus the product. 8 times 6. 8 times 6 times 2. Now, what you want to do is try to not get beyond 12. You should know up to the 12 times table. 8 times 6 is 48. You should know that, because those numbers are each less than 12. But you may not know what 48 times 2 is because you didn't learn the 48 table. But what do you know? 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 8 is something we're supposed to know. That's 96. Times x times y. X times y. Plus 6y all squared. 6 squared, y squared. There's the answer. Should just be able to read off the answer practically. Just to remind you, if you have something like x to the 5th to the 6th power, you multiply the powers. X to the 6th. So, what would you get? You have 3x squared minus y cubed all squared. Well, you get the first squared. You get 3 squared. Now, x squared squared, exactly like the example I just gave you here. You multiply the exponents. So it's 9x to the 4th minus 3 times an understood 1 is 3 times the 2. There's the 2. There it is. It's 6 times x squared y cubed plus y cubed all squared. Multiply the exponent, you get y to the 6th. There's the answer. Okay, you can do these problems. It's definitely doable. Okay, that completes this section on squaring binomials. Know your two formulas. In fact, let us write the formulas down in one place. A plus b squared is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, and a minus b all squared. Well, that's a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. You should know these formulas. This way you don't have to FOIL out. You're going to be studying math for a while. Arithmetic, basic algebra, intermediate algebra, maybe statistics, maybe pre-calculus. You don't want to keep FOILing out every time. You don't need to, which is good. Okay, thank you.